Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Before we even get started, I need you to understand that what we're about to break down right here is not just about football. This is bigger than the game. This is about character assassination. This is about a young man's reputation being dragged through the mud, and this is about the absolute vindication that's happening right before our very eyes. Coach Prime just went nuclear on the media, the Cleveland Browns are looking shady as hell, and Shedor Sanders has officially become the most Googled athlete on planet Earth. Not in America, on the entire planet. Let me say that again for the people in the back. The most Googled athlete in the world. We're talking bigger than LeBron James, bigger than Patrick Mahomes, bigger than Steph Curry, bigger than Caitlin Clark. This man, Shador Sanders, is number one, and it's not even close. So buckle up, because this story has more twists and turns than a Hollywood thriller, and we're about to break down every single piece of it. Let's start from the beginning because context is everything here. For months, we've been watching one of the most bizarre situations unfold in professional football. Shador Sanders, the son of NFL legend and college coaching phenomenon Deion Sanders, better known as Coach Prime, entered the league as a fifth-round draft pick for the Cleveland Browns. Now, anybody who was paying attention during his college career at Colorado knew this dude was special. We're talking about a quarterback with elite accuracy, incredible poise under pressure, the ability to make throws that most quarterbacks can only dream about, and a confidence level that honestly intimidates people who aren't comfortable in their own skin. But despite all of that talent, despite everything he showed at the collegiate level, Shedeur fell all the way to the fifth round. 29 teams passed on him before Cleveland finally pulled the trigger. 29 teams looked at this generational talent and said, nah, we're good. Fast forward to now, and those same teams are probably having emergency meetings trying to figure out how they fumbled the bag so badly. Because what we've witnessed over the last several weeks since Shedeur finally got his opportunity to play is nothing short of spectacular. This man has been absolutely balling out, putting up numbers that have people questioning why he wasn't starting from day one. He's shown poise. He's shown leadership. He's shown that clutch gene that separates good quarterbacks from great ones. And yet, even with all of this undeniable evidence playing out on national television every single week, there's been this weird resistance from the Browns organization and certain members of the media to fully embrace what's happening right in front of their faces. Which brings us to Coach Prime absolutely destroying the narrative that's been built around his son. Deion Sanders took to social media and posted a message that basically laid out every single lie that's been told about Shedeur throughout this entire process. Let's go through this list because it's absolutely wild when you see it all written out like this. The media claimed Shedeur doesn't get along with his teammates. That was a complete fabrication, an outright lie. They said he has poor study habits. Another lie. They reported that he sits in the back of the room during team meetings like he's not engaged or doesn't care about the game plan. Yet another lie. They questioned his arm strength, suggesting he has a weak arm. That's hilarious considering we've watched him zip passes into tight windows and throw deep balls that drop perfectly into receivers' hands 40 yards downfield. Complete lie. They said he lacks the football IQ to lead an NFL offense effectively, especially when compared to quarterbacks like Dylan Gabriel. That's not just a lie. That's disrespectful on multiple levels, because anyone watching the games can see Shedeur reading defenses, making adjustments at the line, and executing at a high level. The lies kept coming. They claimed he's too slow to escape the pocket against NFL-caliber speed. We literally watched him score a rushing touchdown where he showed more than enough mobility to extend plays and pick up crucial yards. That was a lie. They said he has poor practice habits, suggesting he doesn't put in the work. Anyone who knows anything about how Coach Prime raised his sons knows that work ethic was instilled in them from birth. That was a lie. Are you starting to see the pattern here? Every single criticism levied against Shador Sanders throughout the pre-draft process and into the season has been systematically proven false. Every single one. But here's what they got right. Shedeur is highly confident. That's absolutely true. And honestly, that's exactly what you want in a franchise quarterback. You need a guy who believes in himself when everything is falling apart, when the pressure is at its highest, when the game is on the line. You need somebody who has unshakable confidence, and Shador has that in spades. He's super talented. Obviously true. We can all see that with our own eyes.
I do
he's
want
the
to
most
just make
marketable
mention
player
of
in
Grant
the NFL
Delpit
right now.
winning the,
Given that he's the number one
the
Googled
Cleveland
athlete
Browns
in the entire
Walter
world,
Payton Man
I'd
of
say
the
that's
Year.
pretty
Very,
accurate.
very
He was raised
deserving
by a
for
strong
Grant. I've
black
gotten
father
to
who
see.
instilled in him from birth to never doubt himself under any circumstances. That's not just true. That's beautiful. And that's exactly the kind of foundation every young person should have. He's a franchise quarterback. The tape doesn't lie. The numbers don't lie. The results don't lie. He has unshakable resilience. After everything this man has been through, all the criticism, all the doubt, all the attempts to break him down mentally, he's still standing tall and performing at the highest level. That's the definition of resilience. Shedeur is an excellent role model for kids. Absolutely true. He shows young people that you can believe in yourself even when the entire world is telling you that you're not good enough. He's loved and respected by teammates and opponents alike. We've seen the reactions from other players. We've seen how his teammates celebrate with him. We've seen the mutual respect from guys across the league. He's a God-fearing man. That's his foundation. That's where his strength comes from. All of these things are true, and all of these things were completely ignored or downplayed throughout this entire process because it didn't fit the narrative that certain people wanted to push. Coach Prime's response to all of this was powerful, but measured. He simply said, "God bless you, my brother. God has the final say, not man, thank God." That's the kind of faith and perspective that keeps you grounded when you're dealing with injustice. Because make no mistake about it, what happened to Shador Sanders throughout the draft process and the early part of this season was an injustice. It was a coordinated effort to diminish a young man's character, to plant seeds of doubt in people's minds, to create a narrative that would justify why he wasn't getting opportunities he clearly deserved. And for what? Why would anyone want to tear down a talented young quarterback who by all accounts is a good person, a hard worker, and someone who represents the game well? The answer to that question is uncomfortable for a lot of people to acknowledge, but we have to be real about it. There's something about a confident young black man who refuses to shrink himself to make others comfortable that threatens certain people. Shador didn't come into this league with his head down, apologizing for taking up space, begging for opportunities. He came in knowing exactly who he is, knowing exactly what he brings to the table, and refusing to let anyone tell him otherwise. That confidence, that self-assurance, that refusal to play the role that some people expected him to play, that's what led to all of these manufactured narratives about attitude problems and poor work ethic and all the other coded language that gets used when people want to undermine someone without saying the quiet part out loud. But here's the beautiful thing about what's happening right now. The truth always comes to light eventually. You can only suppress greatness for so long before it bursts through whatever barriers you try to put in front of it. And that's exactly what we're witnessing with Shador Sanders. Every single game he plays is another nail in the coffin of the false narrative that was built around him. Every touchdown pass, every clutch throw on third down, every come-from-behind victory, it all serves as undeniable proof that the criticism was never based in reality. Speaking of those come-from-behind victories, let's talk about what happened in Cleveland's recent game because this is where things get really interesting and, frankly, really suspicious. Shador led the Browns back from being down 14 points. He was absolutely cooking, playing like he was an NBA Jam with the ball on fire, just absolutely unstoppable. He engineered a comeback that had Browns fans on their feet and gave the team a legitimate chance to win a game they had no business winning based on how things looked in the first half. And then, in the most crucial moment of the game, head coach Kevin Stefanski made a decision that has everyone scratching their heads and questioning what the hell is actually going on in Cleveland. The Browns were going for a 2-point conversion to potentially tie or take the lead. Shador had been the one leading this entire comeback. He had the hot hand, he was in rhythm, the offense was clicking, and Kevin Stefanski took him off the field. Let me repeat that because it's so absurd it almost doesn't sound real. The head coach removed his quarterback who had been playing lights out, who had just orchestrated an incredible comeback and called a trick play that had someone else throwing the ball. Not a running play, not a traditional 2-point conversion attempt, but a gadget play designed for someone who doesn't even play quarterback to throw a pass. The play failed, the Browns lost, and the entire football world collectively said, "What the hell was that?" Shannon Sharpe, The legendary tight end turned media personality absolutely went off during his show breaking down this decision. And Shannon wasn't just questioning the play call, he was questioning the entire sequence of events and the pattern of behavior from the Browns organization when it comes to how they've handled Shador Sanders. Shannon pointed out that the Browns shouldn't have even been in that situation in the first place because they went for 2 on the first touchdown when they were down 14 points. There was no reason to go for 2 at that moment. You kick the extra point, you're down 7, you score again and kick another extra point, the game is tied. It's simple math. But instead, Stefanski went for 2 on the first touchdown, didn't convert, and then put his team in a position where they had to go for 2 again, just to have a chance. And then, in that second attempt, with everything on the line, he takes his best player off the field and runs a play that had basically zero chance of working against an NFL defense that's seen every trick play in the book. Shannon Sharpe called it what it was, questioning whether there was an agenda at play, whether there was something more going on behind the scenes than just bad decision-making. Because at a certain point, the incompetence defense doesn't hold up anymore. When you make decision after decision after decision that all seem to work against your best player's success, people start wondering if it's intentional. The word sabotage has been thrown around a lot in discussions about Shador Sanders and the Cleveland Browns, and while we obviously can't prove intent, we can look at the pattern of behavior and draw our own conclusions. From the moment Shedeur was drafted, there seemed to be reluctance to give him a real opportunity. Joe Flacco, a veteran quarterback who's been around the league forever, got the starting job despite Shedeur clearly being the better option. Then Dillon Gabriel, who was drafted in the 3rd round ahead of Shador, got opportunities. It took weeks and weeks of poor performances and mounting losses before Stefanski finally gave Shedeur a chance to start. And once Shedeur got that chance, he immediately proved he should have been the guy from day one. But even with that proof, even with Shedeur balling out and giving the Browns their best chance to win, we're seeing decisions like the one in this recent game that seem designed to undercut his success. It's not just the 2-point conversion debacle, it's the play calling throughout games, it's the refusal to fully commit to building the offense around him, it's the constant second-guessing and the lack of support from certain corners of the organization and local media. When you add it all up, it paints a picture of a franchise that either doesn't know what they have or knows exactly what they have and is uncomfortable with it for reasons that have nothing to do with football. Let's talk about the bigger picture here, because this story is resonating far beyond just football fans. Shador Sanders being the most Googled athlete in the world right now is significant. That's not just happening because he's playing well. That's happening because his story represents something larger. People see themselves in Shador's journey. Young people, especially young black kids, see someone who looks like them refusing to let the world tell him who he is or what he's capable of. They see someone who faced adversity, who had his character attacked, who was doubted and dismissed and disrespected, and who responded not by shrinking or apologizing, but by letting his work speak for itself and maintaining unshakable belief in his abilities. That's powerful. That's inspirational. That's the kind of story that transcends sports and becomes about something much more meaningful. The culture, as it's been called, has rallied around Shador because his success feels like everyone's success. When he throws a touchdown pass, it's not just a football play, it's a statement. When he leads a comeback, it's not just about winning a game, it's about proving that you can't be held down no matter how hard people try. When he handles criticism with grace and responds with excellence, it's showing young people how to carry themselves with dignity and confidence in a world that often demands you make yourself smaller. This is why channels dedicated to covering Shador's journey have exploded in popularity. This is why every game he plays draws massive attention. This is why his name dominates social media every single week. People are invested not just in watching a talented quarterback play football, they're invested in seeing justice prevail, in seeing talent properly recognized, in seeing a young man who's done everything right finally get his due. And make no mistake, that due is coming whether certain people like it or not. The Cleveland Browns organization has some serious questions to answer. How do you draft a quarterback in the 5th round who's clearly talented enough to be a 1st or 2nd round pick? How do you then sit on him for weeks while lesser quarterbacks struggle? How do you finally give him a chance, watch him immediately prove his worth, and then continue to make decisions that seem to work against his success? At what point does incompetence become something more sinister? These are legitimate questions that Browns fans and football fans in general deserve answers to. Kevin Stefanski has been asked about these decisions in press conferences, and his answers have been frustratingly vague and unsatisfying. He takes responsibility. He says every call is his call, but he doesn't explain the reasoning in any way that makes sense. When asked why he would take Shador off the field in that crucial moment, why he would run a trick play instead of letting his hot-hand quarterback try to win the game, Stefanski deflected and gave non-answers. That's not good enough. When you make decisions that bizarre, decisions that go against every conventional football wisdom, decisions that ultimately cost your team a game, you owe everyone a real explanation. Some people have even called for Department of Justice involvement, suggesting that what's happening to Shador rises to the level of civil rights violations. Now, whether that's realistic or not is debatable, but the fact that people feel strongly enough to make that call shows you how egregious this situation has become. The pattern of behavior, the coordinated character assassination, the refusal to give opportunities despite clear evidence of ability, the decisions that seem designed to undermine success. When you lay it all out like that, you can understand why people are so frustrated and why they're demanding accountability. What's going to happen moving forward? That's the question everyone's asking right now. Shedeur Sanders has proven beyond any shadow of a doubt that he belongs in the NFL, that he can play at the highest level, that he has franchise quarterback potential. The Browns would be absolutely foolish to continue mismanaging this situation, but given what we've seen so far, who knows what they'll do? Other teams are certainly watching and taking notes. You can bet that front offices around the league are looking at Shadeur's performance and kicking themselves for passing on him in the draft. If the Browns somehow continue to mess this up, if they don't fully commit to building around Shedeur and giving him everything he needs to succeed, there will be no shortage of teams ready to give him that opportunity elsewhere. For Coach Prime, this whole situation must be incredibly frustrating, but also vindicating. He knew what his son was capable of. He's been saying it for years. He's watched Shedeur develop since he was a kid, seen the work he puts in, knows the character he has, understands the talent level better than anyone. To watch the media tear down your son with lies and fabrications, to watch teams pass on him in the draft, to watch a franchise fumble the opportunity to properly develop him, that has to be infuriating as a father. But at the same time, seeing Shedeur prove everyone wrong, seeing him handle adversity with maturity and grace, seeing him excel despite all the obstacles, that has to make him incredibly proud. The relationship between Coach Prime and his sons has been well documented. Deion Sanders raised his children to be confident, to believe in themselves, to never let anyone else's limitations or insecurities define them. He taught them to work hard, to respect the game, to carry themselves with dignity, and to let their performance do the talking. Everything we're seeing from Shador right now is a reflection of that upbringing. The confidence isn't arrogance, it's self-belief earned through countless hours of work and preparation. The resilience isn't luck, it's a mental fortitude built through facing adversity and overcoming it. The success isn't accidental, it's the result of talent meeting opportunity and making the most of it. This story is far from over. We're still early in Shedeur Sanders' NFL career, and if he continues on this trajectory, we're going to be talking about him as one of the elite quarterbacks in football for years to come. Every game he plays is another chapter in what's becoming one of the most compelling stories in sports. The comeback narrative, the vindication arc, the proving everyone wrong journey, these are the stories that resonate with people because they tap into something universal. We've all been doubted. We've all faced people who tried to tear us down. We've all had to fight for recognition and respect. Watching Shedeur navigate that and come out on top inspires people to do the same in their own lives. The Cleveland Browns have a decision to make. They can continue down this path of questionable decision-making and risk losing one of the most talented young quarterbacks in football, or they can fully commit to Shedeur Sanders, build the offense around him, give him the support and resources he needs, and potentially have a franchise quarterback for the next decade or more. It seems like an obvious choice, but given what we've seen so far, nothing is guaranteed. What we do know is that Shedeur Sanders is here to stay. The talent is undeniable. The mental fortitude is proven. The leadership ability is clear. Whether it's in Cleveland or somewhere else, this young man is going to have a long and successful NFL career. The only question is whether the Browns are going to be smart enough to recognize what they have and do right by him, or if they're going to continue this bizarre pattern of behavior and eventually lose him to an organization that actually appreciates his value. For everyone who's been following this story from the beginning, for everyone who knew the media narratives were false, for everyone who believed in Shador when the mainstream was tearing him down, this moment feels like vindication. The truth has come to light. The lies have been exposed. The talent has been proven. And now, we all get to watch as Shador Sanders continues to write his story, continues to prove doubters wrong, continues to inspire a generation of young people to believe in themselves no matter what obstacles they face. All right, everybody, that's what I got for you today, and I need to hear from you in the comments right now. What do you think about everything going down with Shador Sanders and the Cleveland Browns? Do you think Kevin Stefanski is sabotaging him intentionally, or is this just gross incompetence? Should the Browns commit fully to building around Shador, or is this relationship already too damaged to repair? And what about all those teams that passed on him in the draft? How foolish are they looking right now? Drop your thoughts in the comments section because I want to hear what you think about this entire situation. And if you're not already subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? We've been covering this story from day one. We've been calling out the lies from day one, and we're going to continue bringing you the truth about everything happening with Shador Sanders and beyond. Smash that subscribe button right now, hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single upload, and drop a like on this video if you enjoyed the content. We've got so much more coming this week, and you absolutely do not want to miss it. The Shador Sanders story is just getting started, and we're going to be here covering every single moment. Peace out, everybody, and remember, keep your head up and never let anyone tell you what you're capable of. Let's go.